Hey guys, welcome to my first Moy Style podcast. This is my very first episode, and today I'm pretty excited to get to interview my Coach Mike Ross. He was my college coach when I was a junior and senior at the University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma. He's been a huge influence for a lot of players that come to this program, including myself. And today's topic is going to be about college recruiting, which I know a lot of parents and players have a lot of questions about this topic, and I thought who better than Coach Ross to help us out with this. He's broken a lot of records at this school ever since he took over this school. He's gotten the program better and better every year to the point where he's gotten the school to the World Series, which has never happened before. And he's been named Coach of the Year 5 times for the Student Athletic Conference, which I think is a pretty tough conference at NAIA. So, Coach Ross, I really appreciate you for taking the time today to for this interview. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about it. Yeah, Ramo was a great player and a great kid. I was pretty tough on him, but he made it through, got his degree, and was a really, really good player. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when anytime I would make an error, I think I thought I was gonna get beat up, but that's part of coaching and somebody that cares about you, which that's a pretty good point. A lot of people take it the wrong way, and that's one thing that he told me after I graduated. If I didn't care about you, then obviously I wouldn't get onto you so much. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right in. So the first question that I got for Coach Ross is gonna be when it comes to kids that they want to go play college baseball, but they don't know what age to start. And a lot of parents end up going to a lot of showcase, a lot of tournaments, but they don't know where to start. Oh, actually, what age to start? So, what age would you recommend starting to look for colleges?
Yeah, this is always a big question, and for me as well. I played college baseball, and my parents didn't attend college, so I didn't really know the steps either. So it's an important question, and I think you need to start looking at colleges whenever, but just colleges that you would like to attend, whether you're going to play sports or not. When we start talking about athletics, for me, and I have two sons, when you get to that freshman year, it probably needs to be a conversation. Hey, is this something that you want to do? Do you want to play in college? And you kind of start looking around, and by your sophomore year, you need to be having some videos put together, being able to send things out. Junior year to me is probably the biggest one. That's when you need to have your stuff together, know kind of what level you can play at in the schools that you're really interested in. And then, by the time your senior year comes around, you've got to have some stuff out there, and hopefully you're communicating with coaches. And a lot of that depends on too what level the player is. If it's I've coached enough baseball even in the summers, talking to junior college coaches. I had a team one year that was full of juniors, and a JUCO coach came down and asked, where's the seniors at? And I said, well, I don't have any, and he basically said, well, he wasn't going to watch because they're looking at what they need and what years they are. So you can have the perfect plan, and it may just not line up with a particular coach. Now, Division I guys, those guys are recruiting, really early.
Right.
That's freshmen, sophomores. But if you're not that caliber of player, you don't need to be wasting your time either. So, to me, I always tell everybody your junior year is probably your biggest year. And if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. It's just that's a really big year when you need to have your stuff together.
Right. That's a great point, and that's one thing that I wanted to ask about because a lot of players obviously they want to go D1, but I don't know that a lot of kids even know what it takes to play at D1 level. So what? How do they know where they stand? How do they know they're a junior college type of player, Division two, NAIA? So how would they know that?
Well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. If you're not getting any love or any phone calls from major universities, it's probably not going to work out,
Right.
right? And it was the same way for me. I grew up dreaming of playing Division I baseball, and they weren't calling me. I wasn't good enough.
Right.
And so I started looking elsewhere and was fortunate enough to get some other offers. And I think that's the hardest part is really identifying where your skill level is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where your high school coaches come in. I think that's where your travel ball coaches come in. And to me, the biggest part of that is you've got to find someone that's going to be honest with you.
Right.
And I could say in my coaching career, that's probably one of the things I did maybe too much.
That is for sure. Yeah, that's a fact.
I was brutally honest, and I always told my guys, if you don't want the answer, don't ask the question, because I'm going to give you the real answer.
Right.
And so if you can find someone that's honest with you that will evaluate your skills,
Right.
I think that's really important. And I do that a lot for kids around here, high school kids in particular. I know a lot of parents, and they ask me, and I tell them, hey, he needs to go to junior college, or
Right.
he's a small 4-year player. Or there's a kid here in town that I think's got a great shot to play at a Division I level, and I tell them keep pushing that way.
Right.
So finding somebody to evaluate your skills. And really be honest with you, that's going to give you the direction, because that's what most people don't have. They don't have the direction of where they need to go. And so, if they're firing off emails or videos to, the University of Oklahoma, and they're not a Division I kid, well, you're not going to get an answer back.
Right.
The coaches don't have time to answer every email or video they get. So,
Right.
so to me, that's a big part of it, is really, really knowing what your skill level is. And then approaching the schools where you fit.
Right. No, that's a great point, because I know it might sound a little funny, but when anytime I have questions, I still go back to Coach Ross, because I know he's not gonna blow smoke at me. He's gonna tell me the truth, especially with videos and everything that I do. Like I still ask him to this day, and that's the reason why I got him on my first episode, my first podcast, because I know he'll be honest with me and tell me if it's any good or not. So. Now, when it comes to sending out emails to coaches, and one of the reasons why I ask you this, because that's pretty much how I got here as a junior. I sent you an email with my link of my video and everything else, and that's how you got a hold of me. So if these kids are sending out emails, so what kind of, with videos, I would say, what kind of video should they send, and what should they start off with? If they're a pitcher, let's say, what should they start off with, like the first part of the video?
Well, I would say, first off, quick story. Ramo was my first ever YouTube recruit. And he sent me that email and the video, and was fielding ground balls in a parking garage, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. He had slick shoes on the concrete, but it was good. It worked out. No,
you can look it up on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't make fun of me.
Yeah, it's a really good video. But, what I tell everybody when they get to that point where they're serious is I tell them to pick 5 schools. Pick 5 schools. Sit down with your mom and dad and pick 5 schools that you would want to attend, right? Preferably in your skill level. Don't waste your time. If you're not a Division I level, don't send them to Division I's. But pick 5 schools, and just send out a feeler email, introducing yourself. Don't send videos yet. Just introduce yourself, and send that email. Personalize it, and see if you get a response. Now, here's the deal that people don't understand. They'll shoot me an email, and I'll get a phone call 2 days later and say, hey, did you get my email? You haven't responded. Well, what you don't understand is, we sometimes get 100 of those a day, right? And they're from all over the country, right? So when I'm going through those emails, number one, if it's a kid in California, I probably don't even read it, because there's 500 schools between here and California. Right. So I know that, he's just shooting out emails. It's not personal. He's just trying to get somebody to bite. Right. But then if I get a kid that's within our region that's personalized, that, hey, hi, Coach Ross, this is so-and-so. This is where I play. This is what I do. Those are the ones I'll read and flag and put in my folder and get back to them when I have some time. And then and basically in that email, if you just talk about your interest in the school, you need to put some academics in there. And ask the coach, would you like to see some videos? I have plenty of videos. Would you like to see some videos? And then from that point, you've then made the connection and opened up the communication lines. And as far as videos go, I get lots of different videos. You get practice videos, you get game videos. For me, I like a combination of both. The hard part on game videos, especially if I'm evaluating a pitcher, cell phones have gotten better, but if the video's from 100 feet away, I can't really see what the kid's doing mechanically. I can see, his breaking ball and if he's a swing and miss kid, but I can't see his mechanics.
Right.
So I like some game video, and then I like some practice video where I can really see, a side view of a pitcher, even from a view from the catcher standpoint, where I can start to see his mechanics. Because my deal is, for the kids that I'm recruiting, everybody that came in here as a player were really good players, but they weren't a polished player. Most of the arms that we would get here when they would come would be anywhere from, 82 to 90. Right. And so when I'm evaluating that, I'm going, okay, can that 82 turn into 88? Mm-hmm. Well, I can only see that if I can get a good view of his mechanics, right. And I can see, okay, this guy doesn't use his legs at all. He's got 3 miles an hour as soon as he fixes this. Mm-hmm. And the same thing if he's 90. If you come here and you're 90, I don't want that to be the end. Right. I want you to go up to 94. Right. Mm-hmm. But if you're max effort at 85, and I look at that and I go, okay, he's 85, I'm probably going to be 85 the rest of his career.
Right.
That's a different deal. And so that's another part of recruiting. I talk to kids a lot of, well, this kid got a scholarship and he doesn't throw as hard as I do. Well, velocity is just a number. Yeah, we're all chasing it and we all want velocity. But you give me a kid that's 83, 84, that's smooth and has some work to do in his mechanics and still has some growing to do, a frame that I can put 15 pounds on in 4 years, that kid's going to go up to 88, 90.
Right.
Versus you give me a kid that's sitting 87 right now that's max effort and is a big kid. Mm-hmm. I know I'm only getting 87 out of that kid. There's probably not much ceiling on there. So right. I know I'm getting a little long-winded and off topic on it.
But that's great stuff, though.
No, I really want – this is important. This is important for me because I feel people waste – not waste, but they spend a lot of their resources and a lot of their times chasing what I call the white rabbit, and they can't ever find it. So I want to tell people – for me, in my opinion, what it really is. And so if you can pick those 5 schools right. and send out an email and study those schools, you need to know, hey, how many kids do these guys bring in the fall? Do they bring in 35 or do they bring in 80? Right. That's a big difference too, because there's a lot of schools out there. You think everybody brings in 35 guys. They don't. We've got schools in our conference that bring in 100 kids in the fall.
Right.
Some kids are going to get lost in the shuffle and never play ever. Mm-hmm. So you got to know what school you want to go to. Pick those 5. Send a good email, a blanket email. Don't tell me that you've been playing since you're 5 years old. I don't care about that. Right. Don't tell me how many tournaments you've won. I don't really care about that. Tell me why you want to come to USAO.
Right.
Don't tell me that you fit in my program because you don't know if you fit yet. Mm-hmm. But just tell me, hey, I'm interested in USAO. These are the reasons why. Good baseball program, good coaching staff. You develop players. Academically, why do you want to come here? Those are the emails that I go, okay, this kid has done his research. I owe it to this kid to reach back out to him at least. Right. So that's kind of a really long answer, but
no, but that's a great point because a lot of people are like they start sending out a bunch of emails that are just general, and so they don't personalize it like he's saying. So obviously the coach is just gonna go past them and not even give him a shot.
But let me interrupt you one deal too, because a quick story here. Yeah. I've received multiple emails before with the wrong name on it. Right, so it's a blanket email and they're just changing things around. It would have the correct school and my name wrong, or it would have my name right and it would be the wrong school.
That's pretty funny.
And so at that point, as soon as I read that, you're done. I'm not gonna do it. I might email you back just to mess with you a little bit, but make sure you're paying attention to who you're sending these emails out to, and don't mess up the school's name or send it to the wrong coach.
Yeah, that's pretty disrespectful if I would guess. But okay, well, no, that's great stuff. Now, when it comes to the how long the video should be, because I know some kids or parents will put a video together for 10 minutes. I don't know that coaches want to sit there and watch the whole, video. But how long should it be?
That's a tough question. I would say less than 5 minutes. Usually here's what I get when I get a video. So the first one, the kid's running the 60, I'll probably watch that. Mm-hmm. If they go into fielding, I'll watch 30 seconds to a minute of that. If it's really good, I'll watch the entirety. If it's okay, I'll fast forward to the hitting because I don't have time to sit at my desk all day and watch videos. But I'll definitely look and watch and see what I need to see. So for me, like, you have to look at it as if I send a 10-minute video, the coach is probably not going to watch full 10 minutes of video.
Right.
He's going to skip skip forward to what he wants to see.
Mm-hmm.
And then if he sees something that gets his eye, he's going to rewind it and watch it again, so on and so forth. So, putting a mark on the video's got to be this long. There's no right number.
Right.
If you're swinging it, I want to see a handful of swings of you driving the ball the other way, and then a handful of swings to see what kind of power you've got.
Right.
The pitching side of it, I just need to see, 2 or 3 fastballs, some breaking balls, and some changeups,
Mm-hmm.
and then a couple different views, couple different angles.
Right.
The side view, one from the catcher is great. Just a handful of pitches.
Yeah, and that was gonna be my next question, like which angle to shoot it from, because I'm sure you want to see different angles and.
Yeah, same thing with the hitters. I like the side view because that's where I can really see what mechanically is going on the side view and from the catcher, so I can kind of see some ball flight.
Right.
Because from the side view you can sound like it was struck pretty well, but it may land right behind the shortstop too.
Yeah.
Right. So if I
Right.
can get some ball flight with the swing as well, that's always good as well. And here's another part. If you're going to put numbers on there, don't lie about them too, because I've seen catchers. I've gotten a catcher email with video pop time of 178. Yeah, right. And so
Yeah.
so they put the video camera on it, and what do you think I do? Well, I pull my stopwatch out.
Right.
So I'm stopwatching it on the video, and if you've lied to me and said it was a 178 and I've got a 202,
Right.
I'm all about being honest. We are what we are,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we can always improve. Just because you're a 202 right now as a junior doesn't mean you can't be a 192.
Right.
Right? I want to know what you are right now, because that's what's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the other thing. Coaches have connections all across the country, and we have connections we trust. And then when we're making new connections, it's always, okay, I'm going to take a kid from this guy, and if he's not what the coach said he was, I'm not taking another one from that guy.
Right.
I don't have time for that. Be honest with me, and tell me what kind of – if I can get a kid that is an average player but will work his butt off, and I know exactly what he is when he steps foot on campus,
Mm-hmm.
I can work with that kid.
Right.
If I expect this kid to come in and throw 90 and he shows up on campus, he's 84, I'm already mad.
Right.
Right? I'm already personally mad at the kid or whoever sent him here,
Mm-hmm.
because number one, he lied to me, or number two, he didn't do anything all summer. He's already behind.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. No, that's a great point. And I just feel like a lot of kids try to over impress the coaches when they should just do what they do best, not try to inflate the numbers or anything like that. Now, going back to a lot of kids wanting to play D1, but let's say they're not ready yet. So, but they got a potential to play at the D1 level, because a lot of kids they're not physically mature yet, and not even mentally mature yet. So, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like junior college might be a good start for a lot of players out there, and then try to transfer into D1. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
absolutely, I love junior college. I coached in junior college. I played junior college. If your end goal is to be a Division I player and you're not that in high school,
Mm-hmm.
then the easy choice is try to find a junior college, because
Right.
then you can get re-recruited,
Right.
right? And now, recruiting is changing with the transfer portal and everything that's going on right now. It's all kind of a mess. But what I tell people all the time is find a place where you can go play. At the end of the day, you want to play college baseball.
Right.
Period. Right? Only so many of us get to play Division I. Only so many of us get to play in a World Series, and only a handful of people ever get to win a national championship. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about playing college baseball.
Right.
I didn't play at huge schools, but I played 4 years of college baseball and got a scholarship to do so.
Right.
I'm good with that.
Right.
Right? I went to junior college for 2 years. Fortunately, played on a World Series team, which was awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and then went and finished my career at a small school in Iowa, and,
Right.
and pitched. And so, loved it. Ended up coming back home and graduating from here. But you got to find where you can play. The only kid I would steer away from junior college is the really high academic kid. That 28 to 32, 36 ACT,
Right.
that's going to get a full tuition waiver or full tuition paid for at a 4-year school, because most of your 4-year schools, their scholarships their academic scholarships for incoming freshmen are way, way higher than what they are if you transfer. Right. So
Alrighty, okay.
if you've got a son that's a high academic kid coming right out of high school,
Mm-hmm.
I think your goal would be to look more at 4 years because you're going to get more scholarship money on the academic side.
Right.
Because I know here, if you're a freshman and you're high academic, you can get all your school paid for,
Mm-hmm.
right? As soon if you go to if that same kid could go to junior college and make 4.0 at junior college. When he comes here, his opportunity for academic money is cut in half because we load most all universities load their scholarship money to the front end of a freshman because they want them there for 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to look at that part of it too. Now me, I wasn't a I had good grades, but I wasn't getting academic money, so I went the JUCO route.
Right.
And I tell a lot of kids that if you're not turning down a lot of academic money, then junior college is awesome.
Right.
You will find out if you really want to play baseball if you go to junior college.
Right.
You really will. It is nonstop. You get after it. Like I said, I've got two boys, and my oldest, I'd send him to junior college tomorrow. I got a lot of friends that coach junior college.
Mm-hmm.
I would have no problem with him going to junior. I'd have no problem with him going anywhere, to be honest with you.
Right.
And I think at the end of the day, let's get back to what's really important. You want to play college baseball.
Right.
If your goal is I only want to play college baseball at OU, okay, that's fine.
Right.
But you're pigeonholing yourself. For me, I just wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of the kids that I talk to, they just want to play. And there's a school out there for everyone.
Right.
You just have to find it. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I was just asking you off camera. There's always a school out there for anyone, and you just got to do your research. But so and another reason why I ask you that too is because I know a lot of kids want to get drafted. So the kids that are pretty serious about going, trying to get drafted, they think, let's say they come to an NAIA school, they think, well, there's not going to be enough scouts out there, as many as there will be at a D1 level. How, what would you say to a player like that?
If you're good enough, they're going to find you regardless of where you're at.
Right.
Period. I mean, that's the obvious comment. There's not going to be as many scouts around our park as there is at OU or OSU or any Division One.
Mm-hmm.
But there was multiple times of us inter-squatting in the fall, especially here lately, where there'd be 5 or 6 scouts in the stands for a fall inter-squad.
Right.
I sat in 2016, I sat in a room with one of our pitchers and 2 scouts from the Cleveland Indians, and they basically were interviewing him. So if you're good enough, they're going to find you.
Right.
And we have enough connections and know enough scouts that if we've got a guy that we believe, hey, this guy's got a chance to play pro ball,
Right.
well, we're going to pick up the phone and call them.
Right.
And get them out here to see you. I mean, myself and Tile went to lunch with an Indian scout about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're going to find you wherever you're at.
Right.
Right. And pro ball is, man, it's really hard. It's gotten even harder. They keep cutting the rounds and cutting down the minor leagues. I think, you're talking there's a handful of kids in the state that really should be focusing on pro ball.
Right.
Wherever you go, if you develop, you're going to get drafted. I think we have 3 or 4 guys in pro ball right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many we've had over the years.
Well, you
but
got a hitting coach too, and
the
Astros.
Yeah, we've got Astros hitting coach Nick Childs, my assistant in 2016, was just named the Milwaukee Brewers pitching coordinator.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's big time. I mean, I joke all the time. I told my AD one time, I keep losing all these assistants, and they go get better jobs than I do. So what's going on here? But I'm so proud of those guys, and that's just it. If you work, if you really grind, and you really want something, it doesn't matter where you're at. You can get where you want to go. I mean, Pena, the hitting coach for the Astros in the minor league, he's turned down a minor league manager's job.
Right.
So I mean, there's dudes out there that. But it wasn't anything to do with me or really the university. It's they worked.
Right.
We gave them some direction, but they worked their tail off.
Right.
And made themselves into really good coaches and really good players. And now they're playing pro ball.
Right. And that's a great point because, a lot of people don't know where they're going to end up even after their college career. They don't know. I mean, if you want to be a coach, I'm a coach myself now. I didn't think I was going to be a coach, and now that's all I do. So you just don't know where you're going to end up, but you got to build up great relationships with the coaches, with your teammates, because again, you just don't know where you're gonna end up. Now, when it comes to, let's say you already you got a few offers from schools. So how would you pick? Like, what would be your what would you recommend to players that got multiple offers? Like, what, how do they pick this one over this one?
Yeah, that's always a personal and a family decision. I think location is huge.
Right.
If you're a kid that doesn't want to go 500 miles away from home, you can cross that one off your list.
Right.
Or if you want to get away from home, you can cross local ones off your list. It really gets down to that part of academics. Do they have what I want to study? Right? And do they have what I want to major in? And that's always a little bit iffy because you may change your major 3 times when you get into school.
Right.
But for me, it's the coaching staff. If you feel personally connected and you can play for that guy for 4 years or 2 years or whatever it is, I think that's a big part of it. Right. And then how many people do they carry your position? If you're a pitcher and you're a freshman and you go to a school that carries 20 pitchers, well, only 10 of those guys are going to get to pitch in a year.
Oh, right.
Right? And so flip that as well. If you're a position guy and they carry 22 hitters, you may not get to play.
Right.
And so I think that's the best thing that we did here. I think is we've always kept our numbers really good where I wanted it to be. But yeah, really digging into the numbers. How many people ahead of me? If I'm a freshman and I'm a shortstop, and they've got a sophomore, a junior, and a senior shortstop coming back, I don't know about that one. Right. But if I'm a freshman and they're graduating 2 senior shortstops, and I'm getting a good chunk of change, and I like that coach, that's an option.
Right.
And I've heard people say too, pick a place you could see yourself going to school if you weren't playing baseball, which I think that's okay if it's a big school, right? Kind of hard to do if it's a smaller school. That's a hard decision to make. And most of our guys that we always recruited, if they came here, especially a scholarship kid, if they came here, they made it all 4 years. We didn't have a big transfer deal. But yeah, really getting to know your coach, the coaching staff, and how they develop people. I'm telling you right now, go watch them practice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you really want to know what that coach is like,
right?
Because you come sit down in my office and we just talk, you might think I'm the nicest guy in the world. When we got on the field, it was a little different. I was pretty demanding, right? So, go ask the coach if you can go watch him practice, and just go sit and watch him practice. Go sit and watch a game. You'll see the true colors of a program during practice or a game.
Right.
And I always invited kids. Any kid that ever sent me an email that I thought was physically gifted enough to be on the practice field at the same time as us, I always invited them, hey, come to practice. You'll find out if you want to be here.
Right.
Because if you don't want to be here, I don't want you here,
right,
because we're wasting each other's time.
Right.
So when it comes down to that part of it and you're getting really serious and you've narrowed it down to 2 or 3 of them and you're just unsure, go to practice. They practice every day. Email the coach, say, hey, can I come out there to practice, and just watch.
Yeah.
You'll find out a lot about a program there. When you go on a recruiting visit, they're trying to recruit you.
Right.
They're going to tell you what you need to hear, what they want you to hear. And most of them are honest. I'm not saying they're going to lie to you, but realize they want you. So they're recruiting you.
Right.
Right. So it's not always roses that they talk about, or they talk like it's all roses, but when you get out to practice, it's hard work. So go to a practice.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because a lot of kids may be top 2, top 3 players in high school, but when they come to college, the coach might be different. It could be deceiving too. You may have a conversation with the phone, with the coach over the phone, but then when you go out there, I'm like, man, I'm not ready for this. So I think that's a great point of coming to practice and kind of getting the idea what it's like, how the coach is, how the team is, and everything else. So now when it comes to showcases, so showcase is a big thing nowadays. When I was playing, at least I wasn't aware of it, but it's a pretty. I see a lot of parents spending a lot of money going all over the place, thinking that, and I may be wrong, but thinking that all the scouts are going to be right there in the stands, or the college coach is going to be right there in the stands just looking at your son or daughter. And in reality, I feel like it's not that way. So what are your thoughts on showcases?
I showcase tournaments. I mean, I would go to a handful of them.
Right.
I mean, you got to understand too that we work all year and we'd like some time off as well. And
Right.
and in the
That's a good point.
summertime, I didn't go out very much because most everything's online now, emails and Twitter and everything. One of the showcase tournaments, you get on Twitter, every highlight there is on Twitter. So why should I go to the game, right? I mean, that's unfair to say, but it's the truth too. So showcase tournaments, it's a flip of the coin. Toward the end of my coaching career, unless I knew a kid was playing, I wasn't just going to a showcase tournament.
Right.
I wasn't, because there's so many kids out there. I was telling Ramo before we started, I saw a stat on Twitter or Facebook that, there's like 500,000 kids that play baseball in college or participate in college athletics, and there's only 50,000 kids
Yeah.
on baseball rosters. So that's like 10%, right?
Yeah.
So for me as a coach, there's plenty out there, right? And so I don't have to bang the ground anymore trying to be at every tournament, right? So they can promise you there's coaches there, but probably the ones making the decisions on recruiting aren't there. They're off with their families. There are some really good camps. I've worked a couple of them. In most of the camps, you got to understand they're paying me to be there. They're paying coaches to come. But there are some good ones. And I do believe, I told a couple of kids this summer, hey, you need to go to this showcase camp. This is the one you need to go to, because there's going to be 150 coaches there. And you will be evaluated by 3 or 4 of them.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but how do you know which showcase to pick?
You just got to do your research. I think people feel fortunate that I'm an open book and will tell people anything, and they're comfortable with speaking to me. So I'll tell them what camps I believe in, and the ones that I worked. And there's some really good ones out there.
Right.
And there's nothing. I would send my son to, I'm not going to name it on here, but there's one that if he really wants to play, will end up going to one of the showcase camps, because there's a lot of college coaches there, and they evaluate. There's 3 or 4 coaches that evaluate one kid, and you get to talk to that coach, right? And so even though only 3 or 4 of them are evaluating you, the other 150 are watching you, right? So you're going to get seen, and all you can ever ask for is get seen.
Right.
At that point, it's up to you. And if I'm sitting there and watching you hit, and I'm not really interested, that's not saying you're a bad player. I just don't have any interest.
Right.
Right? That's my opinion. I could be wrong. I've missed on plenty of guys, right? But it's not personal. It's just, is what it is. But the tournaments, I mean, there's so many of them nowadays, and people are spending so much money running around, and I just don't think it's that hard.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so if I was recruiting a kid and I said, hey, where do you play summer ball? And he said, well, I just play summer ball for my high school team, Red Dirt. I wouldn't hold that against him. He's still the same player regardless of where he's playing at, right?
Right.
And really toward the end, it got hard for me to even go watch some of the summer showcase events, because there was no team aspect to it. Nobody's laying down a bunt. Nobody's hitting and running. If kids don't care if they want to win, but they really truly don't care. I hate to say that, but that's just what it looked like on the field. They didn't hustle on and off the field. And so, I would get turned off more going and watching it. And probably it would be a negative toward a kid because they weren't demanded to play hard in those things.
Right.
And if I'm going to take time away from my family in the summer, especially, to come watch you play, and you don't play hard and you're not going to sprint,
right,
I'm not very happy.
Right.
Because I've missed a birthday, or I've missed a dinner with my family, which, when you're talking about in the baseball season, that doesn't happen ever.
Right.
And now I'm cutting into my summer. I'm not going to be happy.
Right.
So there's goods and bads to everything. And the same goes for the summer showcase stuff. You can go spend $10,000 for 4 summers and not get a phone call.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a guarantee.
Right.
It's not a guarantee. And on the flip side of that, you can spend $250 and play for your local high school team and get all the phone calls you want if you are a good player.
Right.
Right? It's about what kind of player you are.
Right, and what the reason also I'm asking about the showcase because I guess back home is different where I'm from because it's more of everybody wants to go pro, but
Mm-hmm.
there's not colleges, and the reason why I feel like there's a lot of Latin players, especially in the professional level, is because they train so much. I feel like here, and I mean it's guys pros and cons, but I feel like here they spend too much time playing, and then they forget about training, about getting better. And I think that is the big difference to where I came from. I remember we trained a crap load just because we wanted to, we wanted a better lives for our family, and we wanted to go pro. So I remember when I was 14, I was already thinking I want to play Major League Baseball, but I had to get after. It was day in day out, and I think that's why I feel like a lot of kids don't perform well at the showcases because they're just playing. But in reality, you may be getting worse. To me, sometimes I'm not saying that's always the case, but I feel like if you don't train for it, then you're kind of just
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. We play so much, and we put so much emphasis on how many games we played. That doesn't mean you got better,
right,
right? And so that's like in the fall here. We can play outside games in the fall. I didn't do that. We
right,
we quit. I never scrimmaged anybody. I didn't get any good out of playing in the fall. What I got good at was practice,
right,
really hard practice, and then we would inter squad on Friday and Saturday,
right.
and I
Yeah, I
could
remember that.
control that scrimmage. If I needed to stop it and work on a skill, we could do that,
Right,
right? And that's what our kids do now is they play so much that they just don't practice their skills and their techniques,
right,
and then what you do, you have to find somebody to give you a lesson, and now there's more money because you're spending lessons,
right,
and you get 1 hour one time a week. Well, that ain't making you better.
right,
You're learning,
right,
right? And I can say that because I give a lot of lessons too, and I tell people all the time, hey, inside this 1 hour, I'm going to make you a little bit better, but it's what you do on your own when you
right.
leave here and the knowledge you take and you work on it. That's what's going to make you better, right? You're just getting in front of me and I'm giving you the lingo and the mechanical cues, but if you don't go work on it at home, you're
Right,
not going to get better.
right,
And 1 hour with me on the mound and you go pitch on Saturday, don't expect it to be great,
right,
right? It's a process, a long process. And we don't practice enough. We really don't. We
right,
we don't every game we play is structured here.
right,
You know what I mean? Kids don't just go out and play baseball anymore.
right,
I went to Dominican Republic a couple of years ago on a trip. It wasn't a recruiting trip. I wanted to go to the beach, and I'm literally driving back to the airport on a bus, and in an open field that was just rocks and all kinds of crap. There's like 15 kids out there in the middle of the
yeah,
day playing baseball.
yeah,
And I'm like, holy cow, this is awesome. Like, I was so pumped I got to see that because you hear about it.
right,
But I got to see it, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. I wish my kids would do that.
right.
I wish they'd get out of the house and just go throw a rock at each other or something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, back home, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, this countries, a lot of kids are hungry for success. So that's why that's all they eat and breathe, and so that to me that's why they're getting bigger and bigger. So, and another thing that I see a lot is a lot of kids, they want to pick up with this team, pick up with that team, when they're not playing with their team, and then they end up playing so many games. So they're like, well, my kid's in a slump. I'm like, well, maybe you need to kind of back off a little bit and just get back to the fundamentals and try to get back into working what you need to work on, not just trying to see the next pitch and the next pitch and the next pitch. So now let's go ahead and jump into once you're in college. So what do you think? Like, what makes you a successful? But to you, what would make a successful college player?
Oh man, I think each kid's different. It's all about your ceiling and how you can develop. But we were talking before we started too. Give me that kid that wants to work hard,
Right.
and is going to put in the time, not only in practice but out of practice. I think that's what people don't understand is so a normal practice here would be from 2:30 to 5:30, give or take. Guys that go eat in the cafeteria and do a little homework, and then they're back in the hitting facility until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, when our practice, we were working on skills, but we were learning how to win and become a team
Right.
and those kinds of things. But your individual skills, that was built outside of practice. It's funny. I was sitting in here and we've got video cameras everywhere where I can pull up, see who's doing what. We had basketball guys in the gym last week at like midnight just shooting, right?
That's
So
awesome.
they had practiced for 3 hours from like 7 to 10, something
Right.
like that was their practice time that night. And they're back in the gym at midnight. There was two of them by themselves on each end of the court. So
Wow.
that's the difference in college athletics is guys really work. And so to be successful in college, you've got to work, you've got to be coachable. And all coaches have different philosophies, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may spend your whole career with one hitting coach, right, and getting lessons. But when you go to college, that college coach has his own philosophy of what you're going to do to hit at his program.
Right.
And at the end of the day, his job is what's putting food on the table for his family. So you better do what he wants you to do,
Right.
right? And so, being coachable is a big part of it. Not being afraid to fail,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot to learn going from high school to college. And I always told guys, listen, I'll never get on to you for not doing something that I haven't explained.
Right.
But once I've explained it once, that should be enough,
Right.
right? And then you better do it. So, you got to grind, you got to be coachable, and you got to take care of your academics, which is the really hard part. I know
Right.
we probably kicked a couple of guys out here this last week because their grades aren't where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so there's a lot to take care of,
Right.
right? The academic side, making sure you're getting enough sleep, and getting all your work in on the baseball side, as well as still being able to be a college student and enjoy it, right?
Right.
Because it's once in a lifetime experience in 4 years and it's gone,
Right.
right? So you gotta enjoy it, you gotta have fun, and as well as I do, and I told my guys all the time, hey, this can turn into a business really fast and it can eat you up. You better have fun doing it,
Right.
right? You better really really enjoy it because it is hard, right?
Right.
You talking about when I was in junior college, I remember talking to my teammates, we either played or practiced for like 60, I think it was 62 days straight without a day off.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just like, oh my God, can we have
Yeah.
a day off, please? It's a grind,
Yeah.
but to be successful, again, it's your skill level. It's the place where you're at. Is it a good coach where he develops you, or does he just roll the balls and bats out and say, go play, and it is what
Right.
it is? There's hundreds of different philosophies, and you got to pick the right one and just work at it.
Yeah. Because I remember when I was here when I was actually a player here. I remember in the fall there would be a lot of players, and then all of a sudden they wouldn't come back. And like, man, I struggle with the language, and I still pass my classes. So, I feel like if you put in the work and you really wanna do it, you can. The teachers will be able to help you out. Coaches will be able to help you out.
Yep.
Well, Coach Ross, I don't want to take up your time much longer because I know you got stuff going on the rest of the day. So, do you have any final advice for kids out there that got aspirations to play college baseball?
Yeah, just stay with it. It's a long process. It really is. Don't get discouraged if the school that you really wanted to go to doesn't offer you a scholarship. Because here's the other thing: hardly anyone's on a full ride. Everybody tells people how they gave me a full ride.
Right.
No, we didn't. In 13 years of coaching here, I've given out 3 full rides, I think. And I'm sure 100 guys have said they were on a full ride. You don't get full rides in baseball.
Right.
And so the academics are really important. And if you get anything, don't take it as an insult. I mean, that just, we all have budgets. And if I can offer you $1,000, I would hope you'd be happy with $1,000. That may be all I have in my scholarship budget the year you're coming out to play. So,
Right.
but it's a process. Don't get discouraged. You may not end up at your dream school, but at the end of the day, like we talked about, we're talking about the fact that you just want to play college baseball. And it's a heck of a lot of fun. I could tell you where I finished my career. You would have no idea where it's at, but I had a lot of fun playing, and I got to play. So don't get discouraged. Keep grinding. If you have questions, ask. Don't hesitate to ask. Right? There's a lot of stuff out there that a lot of people don't know, and if you don't know the right person or who to ask, ask Ramo. He's got enough connections, and
Right.
and just keep grinding.
Well, again, I appreciate you, Coach Ross. You're always, great help. When anytime I have a question, I'm always, bugging this guy, but he's always been awesome to me. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you would like to watch more videos like this, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and remember, keep it Moy Style.